Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this awesome mesh bag. This is an extremely versatile pattern. You can make this bag in lots of different sizes and it has lots of different uses. I've nicknamed this bag my Aldi bag because I keep it in my car so that when I am making my shopping trips, not just Aldi, any store actually, I've started to use my bags because they are extremely eco-friendly. And they can stretch and hold just a lot of things. This bag in this pattern can also be used as a beach bag, as a mesh bag to hang in the tub if you have kids that have toys that need to dry and air out. It's just really a wonderful pattern and it is extremely addictive. So this smaller bag is about, let's say, 10.5 inches by 14.5 inches. And again, these are very stretchy, so that's just the unstretched size. So this is the small. So the medium bag is, let's call it 13 inches by 16.5 inches. Oh, also, I wanted to share with you, I've got this sitting up here. I'll include a pattern for this, or maybe I'll make a separate video. If you are an Aldi shopper, this is my quarter keeper. So I keep my quarter in this little bag and then I attach it to my handle so that I'm never looking for my quarter when I get to Aldi. And finally, we have the large tote, and let me tell you, this thing is huge and can hold a lot. From top to bottom, we are at about 14 inches. Side to side is about 19 inches. So these bags you can make in just any size that you like. I'll go ahead and put my chart down below for you on how many chains I made, how many rows I made, and about how much yarn you'll need. All right, so what you'll need is 100% cotton yarn, and the cotton yarn is best for these bags because number one, it's super strong and it's going to stretch a lot less than if you use an acrylic yarn. I used in my bags a number 5 crochet hook. That is what the yarn calls for. It's a 4-weight cotton yarn. Okay, so let me give you sort of a rundown of our game plan here for making our mesh bag. We're going to begin by making the top border here. It's going to be a row, 6 rows actually, of single crochets. Then we're going to create our mesh net here. It's going to make a big long section of mesh. Then we'll finish that section of mesh with another row of 6 single crochets. From there, we're going to come around the side and start gathering up our mesh to make the side border. When we get to the top here, we'll make a chain as long as you want to make your handle. We'll come back around and we're going to gather up our mesh again, get the other strap made with our chain, and then we're just going to go round and round and round to make another border. Okay, so there's our game plan. Okay, so to begin, you need to create a chain. The chain is going to be the length of the first section of our bag. For my demonstration for the smaller bag, I chained 21. So you'll place a slip knot on your hook, chain 21. 2, 3, 4, 5, 19, 20, 21. Now, you're going to be going back, placing single crochets into your chain. You can choose to put your single crochets into your chain from the front. I prefer going into the back bumps of my chain. When you turn it over, you'll see these little bumps, these bars going across. I put my stitches there because I think it gives me a nicer finished edge. So you'll turn your chain over and into the second chain from your hook, 1, 2. You're going to place a single crochet. Just put your hook into the bump, yarn over, pull it through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Now I am a huge proponent for using stitch markers. It's going to help you find your last stitch when you come back the other direction, so I always use stitch markers so that I have nice clean edges. So I'll put that one there. Speaking of stitch markers, let me show you this real quick. I found this on Amazon. I'm always losing my stitch markers. I think I will have some for a while now with this nice little kit. It was $5.99. And I don't even know how many are in here. A ton of them. So I'll put a link in the description below if you would like to find some stitch markers. I swear by them. Okay, back to the task. So we're going to go ahead all the way down our chain, placing a single crochet. You will have 20 completed single crochets along your chain here. The first one was our turning chain, so we don't count that. If you're wondering about this funny little plastic ring I've got on my finger or my thumb, that is, it's a splint. I have some really terrible tendinitis going on, and I'm trying to avoid going to the doctor, so I'm splinting it for a bit. Hopefully that's going to help straighten things out for me. Okay, so I've come to the end of my chain. I'm going to make my last single crochet into that end space. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Now I'm going to place my next row into the top of these single crochets, going right into this first one here. You'll know where to place your stitch because when you turn your work over, you see these V's, and you'll put your hook underneath both bars of that V. Okay, pull it over this. And now I'm going to go ahead and mark once again my stitch. My first one, and then continue down. We're going to do this for 6 rows. So I'm now on row 2. I'm not counting that chain, our foundation chain, as a row, so this would be row 2. Okay, I'm coming up on the end of row 2, and you'll see that finding this last or first stitch actually is easy to identify because I have my stitch marker here. So I'll go ahead and remove this, place my single crochet here, chain 1, turn my work, and I'll go ahead and begin row 3 and continue on. Okay, so you're going to continue this, repeating it until you have 6 rows of single crochets. All right, so I will catch you back and we'll meet up when you have your 6 rows done. Okie doke, so we're coming up on our last few stitches of row 6. We'll place our last single crochet into our last space. And now we're going to start making the mesh netting. So to do that, at the end of your row, you're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to turn our work. And now we're going to start placing chains the 5 into each of our stitches all the way across. This first chain of 5 goes with this first single crochet. So we're going to place our hook now into the second single crochet. We're going to make a single crochet here, and then we're going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to take our hook, place it into the next stitch, the next single crochet, place a single crochet, and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into the next single crochet, you're going to make a single crochet and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is pretty simple. Just single crochets, chain 5 all the way across. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're making these little loops all the way across. We'll have one loop for each of our single crochets till we get to the end. Okay, so I'll meet you there. Okay, so I'm coming up onto my last single crochet. I'll make my last single crochet into that space and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so what I want to do now is make sure that I have 19 little loops here. Okay, I've gone into each of the single crochets all the way across, and that should give me 19 loops. Now I like to mark my first and last loop because as this starts to grow, we're going to want to make sure that we are ending in the correct little loop and we're not adding more on. So that just helps keep your rows consistent. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Okay, that's perfect. So we came to the end, chain 5. We're going to turn our work, and now what we're going to do is start creating the netting by placing our hook into our loop, single crochet, and I want to mark this end so that I have stitch markers on our first and last loop of each row. Okay, single crocheted into this loop, and I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to come to my next loop, single crochet, I'll tell you, this thumb has really got me messed up. All right, and then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go into the top of each of my loops with a single crochet, chain 5, single crochet, chain 5, all the way down. When I get to the end, I'll single crochet, chain 5, turn my work, and go back. We're going to continue this until you have your bag as long as you like. For my sample bag, I did this 40 times. Okay, so I had the mesh row 40 rows. Okay. All right, so I'm going to continue this now until I have 40 rows of loops. To count them, you kind of have to do a little zigzaggy bit here. So this was 1, 2, and I'm starting row 3 here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It'll go 4, 5, 6, 7, back and forth. You'll be able to see how to count those. All right, so continue on until you have 40 rows of your loops, and I will catch up with you then. Okay guys, so as I'm working along, I'm coming to the end of my first skein of yarn. So what I want to do is end a row so that I change my yarn on an end rather than the middle of my work. So that does mean I'm going to have a little bit of waste, but not a lot. I just find it's easier to hide my ends on the edge here than in the center of my work, because this is just a single crochet and chain through the middle, and I don't want to risk it coming apart in the middle of my work. So I'm going to end here because what I have left is not enough to get me back to the other side. So the way I'm going to start my next skein of yarn is I have my chain here of 5, and I'm going to start my single crochet that would go into my last loop here. So I'm going to just yarn over so that I have my 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to stop there. I'm going to hold my work with my thumb and finger. I'm going to bring in my new yarn, wrap it around my hook, and I'm going to draw this yarn through the 2 loops that are on my hook. Now what I'm going to do is take and cut off my old yarn, give myself a pretty good tail, and I'm going to take the tail end of my new yarn and I'm going to tie a knot with my 2 tails here. Okay, so my knot is going to be on the edge of my work, but that's not such a big deal because we're going to be creating a border along here, and I can go ahead and hide my tails in there and the knot. So I'm going to pull my knot here, and now I've got my new yarn attached. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just going to continue on. Okay, so having your yarn change or adding your yarn when you are at the end of a row is going to make things a lot easier for you and make your bag stronger and sturdier. So what we've got here is our 40th round, and I've come to my end. I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. Okay, so from here what I'm going to do now is just place a single crochet into each of my loops. That's going to gather and cinch everything up. All right, so I chained 1, turned, single crochet into this loop, come over to the next, single crochet, and we're going to be just placing 1 single crochet all the way across. Okay, super easy. So while I'm doing this to entertain you, I'm going to tell you about my special visitor that I had today and yesterday, in fact. I am going to put a little clip here for you of my visitor. I am just amazed at the amount of wildlife that I find in my backyard. I am in a pretty a big area, kind of downtown area of the town that I live in, and you know, I'm surrounded by major streets. I have a little neighborhood, and I cannot tell you how much wildlife I find in my backyard. Okay, so we're coming on our end now. All right, and you can see how things have kind of puckered and gathered now, right? So I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to make 6 rows of single crochets, and that's going to make the border just like this one. All right, so just placing a single crochet into each stitch back in that direction. Okay, super easy. So I will get back with you once I have placed 6 rows of single crochets to match this border here. Okay, so I just finished my last row of my border here. I'm placing my last stitch, and what we're going to do now is start making our side border and straps. Okay, it's going to just keep going round and round continuously. So to do that, at the end of your border here, you're going to chain one, and then into the side of your work you're going to place some single crochets. Okay, so for each space just place a single crochet here. Again, this particular pattern, there is no rhyme or reason, just make it look nice and neat. I'm going into each space that's here for each row. Let me move this out of the way so you can see a little better. So you can see each place in between each row of stitches I'm placing a single crochet. Okay, so now that I'm getting to my netting, we're going to do a little cinching so that it gathers up. I've got one more space here. I'm going to place a single crochet, and now we're at the net. So what we're going to do is place a single crochet into each of your chain space and then one in your single crochet space. Here's one in my chains, and then I'm going to place a single crochet right here into the single crochet. A single crochet into the chain, and a single crochet into my single crochet space here. You want to make sure you get both bars of that so it's nice and strong. Into my chain and into my single crochet space. All right, that's all there is to it. We're going to do this all the way around. When we get to this border on this side of your bag, single crochets along this border, and then we're going to create our chain. All right, so now here's where we're going to start making our handle. You're going to make a chain as long as you want your handle. For my small bag, I chained 75. So we're making a chain, we're going to connect it right here to the other end. All right, so I will chain 75 for my bag. 3, 4, 5. I would suggest doing this pretty loosely too, by the way. I wanted to get that in real quick because we're going to be placing our stitches into this chain. And the looser it is, the easier it's going to be to find those stitches and get your hook in there. Three, 74, 75. All right, so I've got my chain of 75. This next part you want to do pretty carefully. So you want to make sure your chain doesn't twist when you attach it here, or you'll end up with a twist in your handle, which is kind of a hassle. So just bring your work through, making sure it's not twisted. And then you're going to attach your chain to the top of the other side of your bag. Just attach it with a slip stitch. Okay. Chain one. And now what we're going to do is continue just like we did on the other side with placing single crochets into your little top border here. And when we And when we get to the netting, we're going to go ahead and place our single crochets, one into each chain space and one into each single crochet space. So we'll start here with this single crochet space, and here's my net. So one there into my single crochet space, into my chain space, single crochet space. Okay, so we'll continue that all the way around, and we will meet up when we get here to the other side of our bag. All right, now I've come to the top and I will make my chain again. Chain 75, and I'm going to come back right here. This is where we started. I'll go ahead and put a slip stitch here because you're going to want to, not a slip stitch. I'll go ahead and place and I should have done this earlier, sorry. Place a stitch marker into the first stitch of our going around the bag. That's going to help you keep track of your rows as you create your handle. All right, so I'm at my top. I'll chain 75. 1, 2. So I'll place my hook into my first stitch, join with a slip stitch, chain 1. Okay, so what we'll do now that we've joined our other side of our handle is we're going to place a single crochet into each stitch that we placed along the side of our bag. All right, so I'm coming up to my chain now. So we're going to start placing single crochets into the chain. Now you can place your single crochet directly into the front of your chain here if you like, but my preference is to place my stitches into the back bump of the chain. So I'm going to twist it a little bit here so you can see. It's a little more of a hassle, honestly, as you're putting in this first round or row, but once you have it in, it really is nice. It gives you this really nice border along your work rather than something that can look a little irregular when you go into the front. All right, so I'm going to turn my chain over. And this is why it was important to try to make your stitches pretty loose, because getting your hook into these stitches can be a real booger. I do use my fingernail a lot. That does make things a little easier to pick those stitches up. So I'm going to, let's see if I can get this out of the way here so you can see better. Each bump, I'm going to just place my hook under that stitch and make my single crochet. It takes a little more time than just going into the front of your chain, but I find that it's worth it. You can pick and choose your battle there, whichever you prefer. All right, so that's all there is to it, guys. We're just going to do that all along our chain. When we get to the other side of our chain, we're going to place our single crochets into our stitches like we did before. Then we've got another chain here to place our stitches into. We're going to come all the way around again and continue on. That's all there is to it. You're going to do that as many times as you like until your handle is as wide as you like. So here's my sample. This is my border, the top of the bag, and then my handle is just created by going round and round making single crochets. Okay? Okay guys, so I'm coming up here on my last few stitches, and I want to show you how to end off your work so that you don't end up with a step off here. Because we've gone round and round in our rows, we're going to end up with a stitch kind of standing, so we want to kind of smooth things out. So to do that, we're just going to do a couple of slip stitches, and that's going to help bring our work down and make it look more even. Now to make my edge kind of smooth out some, what we're going to do is just do a couple of slip stitches rather than single crochet. So I'll do 2 slip stitches here to help kind of bring things down. Now I'll just cut my yarn, give myself a good tail because I'm going to weave that in and pull through. Now what I want to do so that I don't end up with a knot is I'm going to show you how to do an invisible end here. Okay, so I have my last stitch here and I want to bring my needle and put it underneath the next stitch above. And then I'm going to take my needle again and I'm going to insert it where my pink yarn here is coming out and lean it towards the back of my work. So you see how that kind of makes an invisible join here so that you don't really see any knot. Now I'll just take my needle and I'm going to feed it through the back of my work. All right, so I'm just going to bring my needle through several different directions to kind of make sure it's nice and secure. Underneath some stitches, make sure that your needle does not go through the other side. You don't want your yarn showing through there. All right, so this is your Aldi bag. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified the next time I post a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.